Tomorrow is election day in Alabama. Voters have the option of choosing Roy Moore, the Republican serial child sex assault alleged assaulter, who previously said that the First Amendment applies only to Christians, who was banned from a mall for being too creepy around young girls. That's one option. The other option is Democrat Doug Jones, the progressive with a clean record and the right ideas on healthcare and education and so many other issues. Sadly, I don't know which way it's going to go. News of a previous interview that Roy Moore did was publicized over the weekend. Roy Moore once said that the United States promotes a lot of bad things and that maybe, just maybe, Russian President Vladimir Putin is actually right. It seems like a video that would be part of some Saturday Night Live parody about Republicans, but it's not. It's actually Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore. Let's play the clip. Let's listen to it.
You have said that Donald Trump was put in the White House by God.
You know, everybody else thinks it's the Russians. I think it was the providential hand of God. I think it was by providence that he was placed there, yes.
You were, I assume, a supporter of Ronald Reagan in the 80s. What do you think he would think of the proximity between the US and Russian president right now?
You know, one thing I've learned in politics is not to think for somebody else. And to assess what Ronald Reagan would think, I just couldn't simply begin.
But he said that Russia was the focus of evil in the modern world.
You could say that very well about America, couldn't you?
Do you think?
Well, we promote a lot of bad things, you know.
Like?
Same-sex marriage.
That's the very argument that Vladimir Putin makes.
Well, then maybe Putin is right. Maybe he's more kin to me than I know.
I think that that's probably true. I think it's, except I would say Putin and Roy Moore are probably more on the same page than we know and more on the same page than Republican voters are willing to accept. I saw this hilarious comment online, something like, hey, we knew that the USSR had a Georgia in it, but we didn't know it had an Alabama in it as well. That seems to speak to exactly what it is that's going on here. Another example of a so-called conservative praising Vladimir Putin, criticizing the values of tolerance of the United States. We just keep trying to treat gay people like they're real human beings, and Roy Moore doesn't like it. Can you imagine just for a second, right? If one time, just once, President Barack Obama said, America's not doing that great, and maybe Putin is right, it would have been, well, I was going to say it would have been conservatives calling for his murder, but there were already a record number of conservatives issuing death threats to President Obama, more than we've seen under American presidents for a very, very long time. How does, for example, taking a knee during the national anthem to protest racial injustice, how is that un-American? But Roy Moore criticizing the United States and saying maybe Putin is right, acceptable in any way. Roy Moore is a really interesting test for Republicans. There are many Republicans who supported Donald Trump because they saw him as the guy that liberals hate, and they wanted to do exactly what it was that they saw the left as disliking. They did it, and it's been a train wreck for everyone, not just the left. What will they do now? And even the other senator in Alabama, a Republican senator, Richard Shelby, he says he could not vote for Roy Moore, so that the people of Alabama shouldn't vote for Roy Moore either. Moore, openly homophobic, accused of serial sexual assault, removed from positions of power for violating the Constitution. Are Republicans still going to vote for this guy? We will know sooner than later. Vote tomorrow if you're in Alabama. There is still time to phone bank. There is still time to knock on doors. This is a major, major test for the Republican Party. The video you just watched was made possible by support from you. Please go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show. You can make a pledge of as little as $1 per month. And every dollar helps to support the work that we're doing, particularly in light of the YouTube ad boycott, which has been really bad.